Do you remember the moment when you first met your dog? That warm, piercing gaze, energetically wagging tail, and genuine joy, as if you were the most important person in the entire universe. Have you ever wondered, does your four-legged friend remember you as vividly and strongly as you remember them? Do they preserve in their memory all those special moments you've shared together? Today, we'll dive into the amazing and largely mysterious world of canine memory and discover how long and how deeply dogs store memories of people and events. A dog's memory is a true treasure trove, full of mysteries and amazing discoveries. Many of us have seen touching, tear-jerking videos of dogs greeting their owners after a long separation, whether returning from military service, a lengthy business trip, or even a hospital stay. These emotional reunions, filled with genuine excitement, make us wonder, how deep and lasting is our furry companion's memory? Are they capable of storing memories for years, as we do? Scientists from Budapest University conducted an astonishing experiment. They scanned dogs' brains using functional magnetic resonance imaging, while the animals listened to their owners' voices and those of strangers. The results were remarkable. When hearing their owner's voice, the same pleasure and emotional attachment centers activated in dogs' brains as in humans when seeing loved ones. This scientific confirmation proves that dogs truly form deep emotional memories about significant people. Unlike humans, dogs cannot tell us about their memories. They don't keep diaries, share stories from the past, or write memoirs, but their behavior speaks for itself, revealing to us the amazing depths of their memory. Remember how your pet rejoices when you return home even after a short absence. How they recognize the sound of your specific car among dozens of others approaching your home. How they run to the door even before you've inserted the key in the lock. This is the first and most obvious evidence that dogs truly remember and recognize people significant to them. But what happens in a dog's brain when memories form? How does this amazing mechanism work? Scientific research shows that dogs, like humans, have different types of memory, each playing its special role. Short-term memory helps them retain information for several minutes, at most hours. This is what helps a dog remember where they hid a toy, where they put a treat, or where they buried a bone. Interestingly, according to research from the University of North Carolina, a dog's short-term memory works for approximately 2 minutes, significantly less than humans, who can retain information in short-term memory for up to half an hour. A dog's long-term memory stores more important data for months and even years. This includes learned commands, familiar walking routes, places where they can find other dogs or meet friends. And finally, emotional memory, perhaps the strongest of all, helps remember events and people associated with strong feelings. This is what enables a dog to remember someone who cared for them, even after many years of separation. Recent studies conducted in Hungary and Canada revealed an amazing fact. Dogs possess episodic memory, the ability to remember specific events and circumstances. Previously, this type of memory was thought to exist only in humans and possibly some primates. Experiments in which dogs were asked to repeat their owner's actions after various time intervals demonstrate that dogs can remember what they did, where they were, and what they saw at a particular moment. This revolutionary discovery has transformed our understanding of dogs' cognitive abilities and erased another boundary between human and animal perception of the world. Particularly interesting is that dogs' memory is closely linked to their incredible sense of smell. A dog's nose contains up to 300 million olfactory receptors compared to approximately 6 million in humans. Scientists claim that smells can evoke vivid memories in dogs, much more detailed than visual images. You've surely noticed how your pet sniffs items carrying a familiar person's scent, clothes, a pillow, even a car. At this moment, the same areas of their brain that are responsible for emotions and memory activate. It turns out that dogs literally remember with their nose, creating in their consciousness not just an image of a person, but an entire cloud of smells, emotions, and associations. Researchers from Cornell University conducted an experiment using scents and discovered that dogs can associate certain smells with specific people and events. When dogs were given something to smell that belonged to someone with whom they had positive memories, they showed increased levels of oxytocin, the attachment and love hormone. This experiment proves that smells can truly activate emotional memories in dogs. But how long do dogs remember people? What is the storage period for these precious memories? Long-term studies show that dogs can remember beloved owners for their entire lives until their last breath. Even after several years of separation, dogs recognize those with whom they formed a strong emotional bond. Neurobiologists explain this phenomenon by the high level of oxytocin produced in a dog's brain when interacting with a beloved person. This is why stories about dogs waiting for their owners for years or traveling enormous distances to return home aren't just beautiful fairy tales. They have a very real neurochemical basis. Remember the story of Hachiko, the Akita who came daily to Shibuya Station in Tokyo to meet his owner for 9 years after his death? Or the dog named Shep, who waited 7 years for his owner at the Fort Benton railway station in Montana, USA? What about the Greyhound captain, who after his owner's death ran away from home and spent 6 years at his grave in Argentina? These stories are vivid and piercing testimony to how enduring a dog's memory can be, especially when it concerns deep attachment. What about other people who aren't owners? Research shows that dogs remember well those who left positive impressions on them. A dog might joyfully greet a neighbor who always treated them to goodies, even if they haven't seen them for several months. In fact, specialists from the University of Toronto discovered that dogs form a separate social database for each person they regularly interact with, remembering not only scent and appearance, but also behavioral characteristics, voice, and even emotional state. However, people who caused negative emotions also remain in a dog's memory for a long time. This is why pets that have experienced cruel treatment may fear certain people or situations for a long time. Specialists in rehabilitating shelter dogs note that some animals need years to overcome psychological traumas and negative associations. There are documented cases where dogs rescued from situations of abuse reacted with fear and aggression toward people resembling their abusers, even several years after being rescued. Interestingly, dogs remember not only people but also other animals. Research conducted at the University of California shows that dogs can recognize their own kind even after several years of separation. They remember the smell, appearance, and behavioral characteristics of other dogs, especially those they grew up with or had frequent contact with. Scientists conducted an experiment in which puppies from the same litter were separated for 2 years and then brought back together. The results were amazing. The dogs showed much more friendliness and playfulness toward their brothers and sisters than toward unfamiliar dogs of similar age and breed. What about everyday events? Does your dog remember their first walk in the park, first swim in a lake, or first meeting with neighborhood pets? Scientists believe that dogs remember important life events, especially if they're associated with strong emotions, both positive and negative, and these memories can be surprisingly detailed. For instance, research conducted at the University of Pennsylvania School of Veterinary Medicine showed that a dog who once was frightened by loud fireworks or thunder might show anxiety during similar sounds even years later. This explains why many dogs panic at New Year's fireworks and thunderclaps. They remember previous negative experiences and expect the unpleasant sensations to repeat. On the other hand, a pet will eagerly await a trip to a place where they once had fun, be it a beach, forest, or country house. Amazingly, some dogs can remember routes over distances of tens of kilometers. There are documented cases of lost dogs finding their way home from distances of more than 100 kilometers, orienting by smells and, probably, using their incredible spatial memory. Researchers from the University of Helsinki conducted an interesting experiment. They tested how long dogs remember commands and tricks they've performed. It turned out that 1 month after training, dogs remembered 90% of learned actions, and after a year, they remembered approximately 70% of skills, even if these skills weren't practiced during the entire period. This shows how stable procedural memory responsible for skills and abilities, can be in dogs. Another interesting discovery: dogs, like humans, better remember what happened at the beginning and end of training. This is called the primacy and recency effect. Therefore, experienced trainers recommend ending each session on a positive note with successful command execution. This creates a strong positive imprint in the dog's memory. But what influences the quality of a dog's memory? What factors determine how well and how long a dog will remember a person or event? The first and perhaps most important factor is age. Young dogs, like children, better remember new information. Their brain is more plastic and receptive to learning. Meanwhile, older pets may suffer from age-related cognitive impairments similar to dementia in humans. Research shows that about 28% of dogs aged 11 to 12 years and more than 68% of dogs older than 15 years demonstrate signs of age-related cognitive decline. Breed also matters. Some breeds, bred to perform complex tasks, have better cognitive abilities and consequently better memory. For example, Border Collies, considered among the smartest dogs, can remember more than 200 words and commands. And guide dogs demonstrate an amazing ability to remember complex routes and potentially dangerous situations. Studies conducted at the University of British Columbia showed that breeds historically used for herding, hunting, or search work usually demonstrate better results in memory and learning tests. Personal experience is another important factor affecting a dog's memory. Dogs living in an environment rich with stimuli, receiving diverse impressions and regular training usually demonstrate better memory indicators than those whose lives are monotonous and uniform. This is because diverse experiences stimulate the formation of new neural connections in the brain, improving overall cognitive abilities. Researchers from the University of Edinburgh found that dogs who regularly receive new toys, participate in various activities, and interact with different people and animals show better results in memory and problem-solving tests. As with humans, dogs have a process of memory consolidation, transferring information from short-term to long-term memory. This process often occurs during sleep, especially during rapid eye movement, REM phase. Research conducted at the Hungarian Academy of Sciences shows that dogs who rest well after learning better remember new commands and skills. Scientists recorded that during sleep, the same brain areas activate in dogs as during learning, indicating a process of consolidation and information processing. So next time you see your pet twitching their paws in sleep, quietly whimpering, or even seeming to run while lying down, know that their brain might be consolidating important memories of the past day, of you, or of a recently learned command. Interestingly, a dog's emotional state significantly affects their memory. Stress and anxiety can substantially impair the ability to remember new information. The stress hormone cortisol negatively impacts the hippocampus, the brain region responsible for memory. On the other hand, positive emotions contribute to the production of dopamine and serotonin, which improve memory processes. This is why training conducted in a playful form and accompanied by praise and encouragement usually gives better results than training based on punishment and coercion. Research conducted at the University of Nottingham showed that dogs trained using positive reinforcement remembered commands 40% better than those trained using negative reinforcement methods. This fact emphasizes the importance of positive emotions in the process of memory formation in dogs. Can we improve a dog's memory? Can we help our pet maintain cognitive sharpness throughout their life? Absolutely! Regular mental exercises, new walking routes, puzzle toys, learning new commands, all these stimulate your pet's brain and help maintain cognitive functions in good condition. Games requiring the dog to remember object locations or action sequences are especially effective. For example, the Find the Toy game, where you hide the dog's favorite toy and they must find it, excellently trains memory and sense of smell. By gradually complicating the task, increasing the number of toys and their placement locations, you can significantly improve your pet's cognitive functions. Another useful game is 3 cups, where you hide a treat under one of 3 overturned cups and then switch their positions. The dog must remember under which cup the treat lies. A special diet rich in antioxidants and omega-3 fatty acids can also beneficially affect brain function and, consequently, memory. Research shows that foods such as blueberries, turmeric, fatty fish, and certain types of nuts in safe forms and quantities for dogs can help slow age-related cognitive decline. There are even special foods and supplements developed to maintain brain health in older dogs. It's especially important to care for the cognitive health of elderly dogs. With age, like humans, they may develop memory problems. Canine cognitive dysfunction syndrome, often called dog dementia, manifests as disorientation, changes in sleep patterns, forgetting basic skills, and even not recognizing owners. Statistics show that about 50% of dogs older than 15 years are susceptible to this syndrome. Early detection of these symptoms and proper care can significantly slow the process of memory deterioration. Veterinarians recommend regular but short training sessions for elderly dogs, an antioxidant-rich diet, and maintaining a stable daily routine. Some research shows the effectiveness of special medications that improve blood circulation in the brain and slow neurodegeneration processes. It's interesting to compare dogs' memory with that of other animals. For example, dolphins can recognize their own kind even after 20 years of separation, identifying them by unique signature whistles. Elephants are known for their phenomenal ability to remember routes to water sources over decades and recognize members of their herd after many years of separation. Crows and other corvids can remember faces of people who posed a threat to them throughout their lives and even pass this information to subsequent generations. In this comparison, canine memory doesn't appear record-breaking, but it's definitely impressive, especially when it comes to remembering people and events associated with strong emotions. There are many amazing stories about dogs remembering their owners after long separations. For example, the story of Roscoe the Labrador, who was found in a shelter by his former owner 3 years after the family was forced to give him up due to financial difficulties. When the man visited the shelter looking for a new pet, Roscoe instantly recognized him and showed such intense joy that shelter staff were amazed. Or the case of Bo the Pit Bull, who was stolen and found 2 years later in another city. When his owner came to pick him up, Bo, despite exhaustion and signs of mistreatment, recognized her voice even before seeing her and began whimpering with joy. Such stories aren't just touching. They're confirmed by scientific data about the strength of dogs' emotional memory. MRI studies show that upon seeing a beloved owner, pleasure centers activate in dogs' brains, producing oxytocin, dopamine, and serotonin, hormones associated with feelings of happiness, attachment, and well-being. Regarding everyday events, dogs' memory is more selective. They might not remember every day of their life in minute detail, but they clearly fix in memory places where they found food, met other dogs, or experienced something unusual. This explains why your pet might pull you toward a cafe where they once received a treat, or be wary of a road section where they were once frightened by a loud car. Especially interesting are cases where dogs remember very specific environmental details. For example, an Australian shepherd named Zoe always sat by a specific tree in the park where she saw a squirrel 2 years ago, and a German shepherd named Mars would always become alert when walking past a house where a cat lives, although he had seen the cat itself only a few times. These examples show how detailed dogs' spatial memory can be. Neurobiological studies show that dogs, like humans, use the hippocampus, the part of the brain responsible for forming and storing long-term memories. During remembering, the same brain areas activate in dogs as in humans. Scientists from Emory University conducted an experiment in which dogs were shown photographs of their owners and strangers, simultaneously scanning their brain activity. When seeing photos of their owners, areas of the dog's brains responsible for facial recognition and emotional attachment activated. This again confirms how close our species are in terms of memory function and emotional processes. Interestingly, dogs, like humans, demonstrate individual differences in their ability to remember. Some dogs easily remember new commands and faces. Others need more repetitions. Research shows that these differences are connected not only with breed, but also with individual nervous system characteristics, stress levels, and previous experience. Some dogs are naturally more observant and attentive to details, which helps them form more accurate and durable memories. The closer the bond between dog and human, the stronger the memories. Daily communication, shared games, training, and simply time spent together create a strong emotional connection that contributes to forming lasting memories. Research shows that when interacting with a beloved person, dogs produce oxytocin, the attachment hormone that promotes forming strong social bonds and improves memory. Therefore, it's not surprising that dogs remember their owners so well, even after lengthy separations. Curiously, dogs can recognize people not only by appearance and smell, but also by individual movement style. Researchers from Budapest University conducted an experiment in which dogs were shown silhouettes of people walking in darkness. Dogs could recognize their owners by their gait with a probability of about 80%. This indicates that dogs remember and analyze the smallest details associated with close people. What can we do to leave a bright and indelible imprint in a dog's memory? Creating positive associations? That's the main secret. Pleasant impressions associated with a specific person are fixed in memory for a long time. Regular games, affection, favorite treats, exciting walks, and training. All this will help your pet remember you as a source of joy, safety, and positive emotions. It's interesting to note that dogs possess the ability for social learning and remembering. They observe the behavior of other dogs and people, remember their actions, and can imitate them. Research shows that dogs better remember actions performed by their owners than the same actions performed by strangers. This suggests that social bonds play a key role in the process of memory in dogs. In fact, when a dog observes the actions of a beloved owner, so-called mirror neurons activate in their brain, the same cells responsible for empathy and social learning in humans. Scientists from the University of Vienna discovered dogs' amazing ability for delayed imitation. In the experiment, dogs could repeat an action they had seen up to 24 hours ago, indicating a well-developed episodic memory. For example, if a dog saw a person opening a box in a certain way, they could reproduce this action the next day, even if they had never done anything similar before. Notably, dogs' memory has an emotional coloring. They don't just remember an event, but also the feelings associated with it. Behavioral reaction studies show that dogs can experience nostalgia, a feeling previously considered exclusively human. Thus, dogs can show signs of sadness or joyful excitement when seeing toys from puppyhood or when visiting places where they once lived. Dr. Gregory Burns, a neurobiologist from Emory University, conducted an MRI study of dogs' brains and found that when perceiving their owner's smell, areas associated with reward expectation activate. This suggests that even a simple reminder of a beloved person evokes in a dog anticipation of joy and meeting. According to Burns, dogs don't just remember us, they wait for us, miss us, and feel pleasure even from the thought of our presence. Amazingly, dogs' memory can undergo the same cognitive distortions as human memory. For instance, researchers from Sweden discovered that dogs can suffer from the peak end effect, the tendency to evaluate an experience mainly by its most intense moment and by how it ended. If training ends with positive emotions and success, the dog is more likely to remember the entire experience as pleasant, even if there were difficulties in the middle. Another interesting feature of canine memory is selectivity. In a study conducted at the University of Munich, it was shown that dogs better remember those commands and skills that are regularly used and bring them benefits. For example, the command sight, which often precedes receiving food, is remembered better than the command roll over, which is simply demonstrated as a trick. This indicates the pragmatic nature of canine memory. They concentrate on what has practical significance for them. Speaking of time frames, it's worth noting the work of researchers from Duke University who experimentally established that dogs can accurately estimate time. They can distinguish between short and long periods of an owner's absence and adjust their reaction to the return accordingly. Moreover, some dogs seem to have an internal clock. They know exactly when the owner usually returns home and begin waiting by the door a few minutes before their arrival, even if there are no external cues. Another striking discovery concerns dogs' ability to remember object names. A border collie named Rico became famous for being able to identify more than 200 toys by their names. Another dog, a border collie named Chaser, remembered the names of more than 1,000 different objects, a record that remains unbeaten. Chaser not only remembered names, but could classify objects by categories, demonstrating a level of language understanding comparable to a 2 to 3-year-old child. Professor John Pilley, Chaser's owner, devoted several years to studying her abilities and discovered that the dog didn't just mechanically memorize names but understood grammatical constructions and could perform complex commands involving several actions. This indicates that dogs' memory is closely tied to linguistic abilities. They remember not just sounds, but word meanings. Research conducted in Hungary showed that dogs process human speech similarly to humans. The left hemisphere of their brain analyzes word meaning and the right, intonation. This allows them not only to remember words, but also understand the emotional subtext of what's said. Another aspect of canine memory is connected with their navigation ability. Dogs can remember complex routes and find their way home with astonishing accuracy. In a study conducted in Germany, dogs demonstrated the ability to remember the location of up to 20 different objects in a familiar space and find them on command. This spatial memory is especially well developed in breeds historically used for navigation and search, such as Huskies, German Shepherds, and Labradors. An interesting observation was made by scientists from Great Britain. Dogs especially well remember information received from people they trust. In an experiment, dogs were shown where food was hidden, and they were more likely to remember and use this information if it was provided by a familiar person rather than a stranger. This indicates the social selectivity of canine memory. They filter information depending on its source. Regarding the influence of training on memory, recent studies show that regular mental stimulation can significantly slow age-related cognitive decline in dogs. 15-minute daily sessions of learning new tricks or solving simple puzzles can improve a dog's memory and general cognitive abilities by 30% compared to a control group not receiving such stimulation. There are even special puzzles for dogs, developed by veterinary specialists and behavioral psychologists. These toys require the dog to apply various strategies to obtain treats, from simply pressing buttons to solving more complex mechanical tasks. Regular use of such toys can significantly improve a dog's ability to solve problems and remember action sequences. For elderly dogs, new impressions and changes of environment are especially useful. Research shows that even a simple walk along a new route stimulates brain function and creates new neural connections. This explains why dogs so love exploring new territories. It's not just curiosity, but also a way to keep the brain in good shape. Note that genetic factors can also influence dogs' memory. Studies conducted on puppies from parents with good learning indicators showed that the ability to remember is partially inherited. This explains why some breeds are traditionally considered smarter and easily trainable. Many generations of dogs of these breeds were selected precisely for their ability to remember and execute commands. There is evidence that dogs' memory, like human memory, can be constructive. That is, they don't just passively remember events, but actively process information, connecting it with previous experience. For example, a dog that has never seen a certain breed but is familiar with similar breeds can use existing memories to form expectations about a new acquaintance's behavior. The ability of dogs to remember people's emotional states deserves special attention. Research shows that dogs can read and remember owners' emotions, associating them with certain situations. For example, if an owner always gets nervous before a trip to the veterinarian, the dog might start showing anxiety even if it never had a negative experience at the clinic. This is called emotional contagion and indicates dogs' high empathy. Dogs are also capable of remembering and recognizing emotional expressions on human faces. In a study conducted by scientists from the University of Lincoln, dogs were shown photographs of happy and angry faces. Dogs reacted faster and more positively to happy facial expressions, indicating their ability not only to recognize, but also remember people's emotional signals. An interesting question is whether dogs form something like autobiographical memory, a chronological narrative about their life, as humans do. Although we cannot answer this question with certainty, some behavioral research suggests that dogs do form some semblance of personal history. For example, dogs transferred to a new home often demonstrate behavior indicating memories of their former dwelling, looking for objects in their previous places, or showing confusion when discovering differences in room layout. When discussing dogs' long-term memory, it's worth mentioning a study showing that dogs can remember complex commands and tricks even after 10 years without practice. In the experiment, service dogs who hadn't used certain skills for many years were able to perform specific commands after minimal reminding. This indicates the incredible stability of procedural memory in dogs. Summarizing our immersion into the world of canine memory, we can confidently say dogs possess an amazing, multifaceted, and impressively durable ability to remember people and events, especially those that evoked strong emotional reactions in them. Their memory is selective and largely relies on feelings, smells, and associations. They remember not just facts and faces, but the emotional context and significance of events, which makes their memories somewhat similar to human ones, but with a unique canine accent. Beloved owners are indeed remembered by dogs throughout their lives, storing in their heart and brain not just their image and smell, but also the emotional connection uniting them. And significant events, whether a joyful meeting with a new friend or being frightened by a loud sound, leave an imprint in their memory for many years, forming each dog's unique life experience. Next time you look into your four-legged friend's eyes, remember, behind that attentive, penetrating gaze lies an entire world of memories. Memories of you, of your shared adventures and discoveries, of moments of joy and sadness you've shared. This invisible but strong connection, built on memory and emotions, is one of the most amazing and touching things in the unique relationship between human and dog, a relationship that has developed and strengthened over thousands of years of joint evolution. And although our four-legged friends cannot tell us in words about their memories, their loyalty, joy at meeting, and deep attachment speak for themselves, they remember. And perhaps in this ability to remember and love, despite separation and time, dogs sometimes surpass even us humans. Thank you for your attention. If you liked this video, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. In the comments, share your experience. Do you have stories about your pet's phenomenal memory? Perhaps your dog recognized you after a long separation or demonstrated an amazing ability to remember complex sequences of actions. Share your stories. They are invaluable for understanding the amazing world of canine memory. Until new meetings and new discoveries.